with some of us so that we can always have something to go back to and learn from. So sit back and relax and enjoy the session, of course. Okay, it's gonna start now. So Python is a programming language that is used for quite a number of things. It is used for data analytics. It is used for web development. It's used for software dev. It can be used for mobile applications. It can also be used as a scripting language. So we're not going to be looking at other things that we can use Python for. We are only going to be looking at the data analytics part. And hopefully, if we have people that are interested in the web, we can always organize a session around Python for web. Well, for now, this particular course is being organized based on student preference, and that's why we are having this particular session. So the first thing we want to know is, what is Python? Why is it being used compared to other programming languages? So Python is a programming language that, like we all know, and it's being used compared to other programming languages because it has simple to understand syntax. It cuts across lots of fields, so it's object oriented, and so it solves a lot of problems. It has a very large community. I'm writing Python. You're also writing Python. A lot of people solve different problems using Python programming language. So because of that, if you ever come across any challenge, it's easy for you to find other people that are also writing the same programming language. Unlike some other programming languages that you would hardly see people that are, writing the same programming language as that, it could become very, very difficult to solve specific problems. So Python is not like that. It's solved. A lot of people have actually solved a lot of problems using the programming language. So before you could even think that about the particular problem that you want to solve, you discover that a lot of people have actually solved that problem, and they've written a library about it, and all you have to do is just to use that library to solve the specific problem that you want to solve. So this particular journey, fundamentals of data analytics, is just going to cut across some key things we need to understand about Python. The first one is variable. So variable naming. Before we name a variable, there are a couple of things that we need to have at the back of our mind. Variable naming is just a way of naming your variable. For example, you want to name, you have a name of a person and you want to store it in a value. So we give it a name and then we assign a value. So now this name part is the variable name. This other part is the value that you're assigning to this variable. So in mathematics, we know that equal to is used to write the result of something, but in programming we call it an assignment. So if I wanted to actually, decipher what I've written here, I would say name here. Name is a variable name. Equal to is an assignment, and Python is a value. So there are conditions that govern writing a variable name, and we have different value types. So what are the conditions that govern you with writing a variable name, and what are the conditions that govern you to have a variable a variable value or a value? So to have a variable name, the first thing you must have at the back of your mind is that your variable must not be a keyword. So what does that mean? What does that mean that it must not be a keyword? It means that if you ever write a word in Python and the value, the word changes, That means it changes from the normal conventional text to something else. For example, if I write try, you can see that try changes its value. If I write if, you can see it changes. If I write is, it changes. If I write not, it changes. If I write else, if I write for, wow, you can see that the color changes from the conventional variable name and the value that I've written here. So if you ever write a word and then the color changes in this regard, it means that the value is a keyword and it should not be used as a variable name. So another thing to have at the back of your mind whenever you are creating a variable name is that it must not contain space. So what does that mean? So let's say you want to join two words together to write a variable, to define a variable name. For example, maybe you want to say my name or something, maybe my name in this regard. You should not write an example like that. You shouldn't write a variable name in this regard. If you ever feel like you want to join two words together, you have two ways to do that. It's either you introduce an underscore between them, or you capitalize the first name, the first letter of the next word. For example, my name. So the first letter of the new word should then be capitalized, or something like new file or something. So this is a practice you should always uh, adopt when you are naming your variable name. So we call this particular naming style, we call it the snake case. We call this the snake case. And then we call this other one, we call it the camel case. So the naming doesn't actually matter anyway, just know the rules behind each of this. So this is snake because you can see it looks it's an underscore. It looks a little bit coily, but the other one, the camel usually have a hunchback. So this one looks like it has a hunchback in that regard. So the name doesn't actually matter anyway. Just make sure that you understand the logic behind it. So I'm just going to get rid of this. So that's the second criteria behind variable naming. Are we still together? Am I moving too fast, or am I good to go?
It's all right.
Okay. So the third condition will then be it must not contain a character, a special sign or a special character. It must not contain a special character except from an underscore. Because some of us might want to ask me, which the one you just wrote now has a special character. So it must not contain a special character like all of this. And just think of all the special characters that you can possibly have. So it cannot contain any of this. So, but you could use an underscore. You can use an underscore like this. And so it must not start with a numeric value. Number 4, it's not start with a numeric value. So you can say like one name, like this is very wrong. This is wrong, but you can have a name one in this regard. This is very, very right. So you can not have this type, but you can have this type. So these 4 keywords, if you read more name variable naming, then you'll be able to, as you write more, you know, when you see an error, you can just Google that up and you see that more in detail what it is. We're not going to cover nitty-gritties of all of that, but at least this should give you a startup of what you should have at the back of your mind. So the other part, which is the variable type, we have quite a number of those. We have variable type. We have the first one is a string. We have numeric or int. We have boolean. So if we say a word is a string, a string basically is alphanumeric. So anything that is being encompassed in either a single quote or a double quote is a string. Even if it's a numeric value, it's a string. So a numeric value can either be an integer or a decimal value. So if it's an integer, then it's an whole number. So an integer is a whole number, while the other one, float, is a decimal. So a boolean basically is true or false. So you use a boolean to assign a true or false response. So basically, for starters, these are variable types that you might want to be working with. We have other ones, but as we move on, we will be looking at other types of variable types. But for now, please get yourself familiar with these variable types. Any question?
No.
Okay.
Not
Great.
at the moment. Yeah.
All right, great. So so those are just the first thing we need to have at the back of our mind. If we ever name a variable wrong, then every other thing that we want to do will just not fall in place. So it's important that we understand the convention behind naming a variable. Now, if that is said, the next thing we want to look at is numerical analysis using or numeration in Python. So So just like every other programming language, there are some operations that we might want to perform. Our normal standard operations, plus, minus, subtraction, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, modulus, and the likes. These are operations that we usually perform in mathematics. I'm just going to call it a math operation. I'm just going to call it math ops. So if you want to perform addition, you basically use the plus sign. Subtraction is a minus. Multiplication, if I get that correctly, is an asterisk. Division is a divided sign like this. We have modulus. Modulus is percentage sign. We have floor. We also have exponential. Okay, we have floor, which is double division sign. Okay, so we have all of this. So if you want to perform addition, basically you have two. For example, let me say number 1 is 5, number 2 is 7. So if you want to perform addition, let's say number 3 is equal num 2 plus num1. So what this means is that the value that is being saved in num1, the value that is being saved in num2, which is 7. So you're saying take the value in num2, add it to the value in num1, which is going to be 7 and 5. So what Python understands is that it's just going to go and look for the value that you saved in this num2, which is 7, and then it adds it up with the value that you have in num1, which is 5. So if you print that result out, you should get a 12. So that's basic addition. Optionally, sometimes we use plus sign for concatenation, but when we get there, we are going to look at how we can use plus sign as a concatenator and not a math operation. So if you want to subtract, you can just going to copy this and then change some tiny bits. I'm going to change this to minus. And I'm going to say print num4. And that's it too. So 7 minus 5 gives me 2. And if I wanted to divide, it's going to be, it's going to say 5. 5, and I'm going to say this divided by this. And I'm going to say 5, print it out. And that is a 1.4. I'm just going to say print so we can keep seeing the results. So I'm just going to comment out this sort of first part. Just going to comment this part out. And I'm going to say this, so which is 1.4, which gives us the whole number and then the decimal. So that's what division would do. But if we move further and we say maybe 6, which is the say multiply, and I say 6, and I just run this stuff like this, is 35. So that's 7 times 5 is 35. So that's division. So the last part, okay, not the last part, is modulus. Just gonna run this and I'm gonna say percentage like this. Just going to run this part. Just going to change this to 7, and I'm going to say floor, and I'm going to say 7, which is 1. So what floor means is that when we divided 5, we divided 7 by 5, we had 1.4. So what floor is going to do is that it's going to return the whole number and it's going to discard the remainder. So it's only going to return the coefficient and then discard the decimal part. So modulus is going to do the opposite, because modulus is going to return the remainder and it's going to discard the coefficient. So what that means is that if I say num8 and I say percentage like this, I'm just going to comment this part out. And I say num8 like this, I run this. This is going to give me 2, because when I divide 7 by 5, it gives me one whole number, 2 over 5. That means 7 can be divided by 5 successfully once, and then a remainder of 2 is left behind. So this 2 is what modulus returns, while the whole number 1 is what the CEIL returns. Okay, so and then we have also exponential. If you want to get an exponential of a particular number, just say num9, num9, and then if I just run this part, what this means is that so what this means is that I want my value num2, which is 7. I want 7 in 5 places. So what this means is 7 times 7 times 7 times 7. 7. So it means 7 raised to the power of 5. So that's what this means. So that's what exponential mean here. Okay, so that's that about the math operation. There are other math operations like square roots, square, and other ones that are more advanced than this. So we could also use all of that, but we can't traditionally write it in this manner. We can use a library, which is an inbuilt library in Python. It's called the math library. So basically, we can use that to get other operations. So to use the math library, we just have to import the math library. Usually, it comes with every installation of Python, so you don't have to manually install this. So if I say math dot and I hit tab, okay, you see a couple of other math operations to use here: ACOSH, COSH, assign, seal, exponential, floor, factorial, logarithm, pi, power, product, radians, sin, and some other stuff, square roots and stuff. So if you ever want to use an operation that is beyond the ones that have been mentioned, Math Library is your go-to. Okay. Any question?
No, not at the moment.
Someone wants to say something? Okay, thought I heard something. All right, so apart from that, so we have talked about variable naming, we have talked about variable types, we have talked about math operation. So let's talk about something on string. Now, strings are a string is a data type, like I've said earlier. So a string is a data type that comprises of alphanumeric characters, and oftentimes you might want to apply some formatting or methods to your string. For example, let's say first name or first name like this, and then you say Hill, and then you say last name, you say Smith. So you can say the full name is Will Smith, right? So the other time I was saying something about plus being used as a concatenator or concatenating operator. So if I just copy this, paste it right here, put a plus sign, copy this, paste it right here, and then print out full name. You see now that Will Smith is now being concatenated together. I could also format it further by just putting another plus sign here and then putting a space in between. So what this means is now that I want the value that is stored in first name, which is Will, I want it concatenated with a space, and I want that to also be concatenated with the value that is stored in last name, which is Smith. So Will concatenated with space concatenated with Smith gives me Will Smith. So this is just a traditional way of concatenating strings together. You can concatenate more than 2 words like this. You can have more, but as you keep going through this lane, it could get very, very tricky, as you might not be able to keep up with plus and space and stuff. So there are other ways we could go about this that would be less stressful for you to be writing the conventional plus signs to concatenate value. And that is what brings us to string formats. So you can format your strings using several methods or several ways. I am not going to talk about all the ways, but I'm going to give you two ways you could format your strings in a very subtle manner that's not going to stress too much. So the first one is using the F string, and the other one is using the placeholder or the format string. So I'm just going to talk about those two formats. I'm just going to say formatting string. So for that, you're going to say, let's say I wanted to combine these two, but using a plus sign is just not a good tool. I could say print, then this is my F, and then I'm just going to write my first name and then last name inside a placeholder. Now this curly braces is what we call a placeholder. Just going to put that here, and I'm going to put that here. Okay, sorry. So you can see that we still got the same results using this method. Even though we used plus here, using this method, we still got the same thing. So this is particularly useful if you want to write maybe a journal or a story. Maybe you are a script writer and you don't want to assign values to your characters yet. And after assigning or probably after assigning values to your characters, you feel that the name doesn't befit the role. You just want to change it into something else. So once you just change the value here, let's say I just change this to Tyler or something, and I run this other one, everything just changes in one go instead of having to keep tab of the number of places that I've used this Tyler, So this means I can concatenate this with some other things. For example, I can say print first string, F string, and I say my name is, or my first name. Let me just put it this way. My first name is, and then I put this up here, right? And my last name is, and then I put this up here. So if I run this now, you can see my name is Tyler, and my first name is Tyler, and my last name is Smith. Just gonna put full stop here. So without worrying too much about putting a plus sign, if I wanted to use this first method here, I would be using plus quite a number of times. For this one, I need not worry about using plus. All I just have to do is to attach my placeholder correctly, and it picks up the rest. So that's the first method we are going to be looking at. The second method we are going to be looking at is the format style. So just going to say the second method would then be print. Oops, spell that correctly. Okay, and I'm going to say my name is, or I'm just going to say my full name is, and then I'm going to have a placeholder here and another one here. I'm going to have dots format, and I'm going to say I could just name this to be first and name this to be last. Okay, so I'm just then going to define my first here equal to, maybe my first name is Rukayat, and then my last name is maybe some last name like this. So if I print this out now, this gives me, this concatenates the entire thing. So what does this first and last name means? It means that I'm defining a placeholder and I'm naming it first. I'm defining another placeholder and I'm naming it last. So in this format here, this is where the whole trick happens. It means that for everything I name first here, it should be assigned Rukayat. And for everything I name last here, you should be assigned Balogun. So I can have this happen more than once. For example, I can say, but for something, sometimes my family calls me, and then I say first, and my friends call me, and then I say last. So I don't have to, define this first and last name again, because Python automatically assigns everything that is being placed as first as Rukayat, and everything that is holding the placeholder last as Balogun. So this is also particularly useful when you're writing maybe a script, or you're writing some story and you've not decided what your character name is going to look like. And as soon as you have that, you can just change that. So if I decide to change this now to maybe some other stuff like this, you can see every other place that that first name occurs, it's now being changed to Balogun. And I now decide to change this now to maybe this. Every other place where that last name occurs is now changing to Oluwemi. So that's just a good thing about using this particular method. So which one do you think is much more easy to grasp? Sorry, can you say that again? Your voice is cracky. If I could just hear you, but I can't hear you. The other one, you mean this one?
Anyway, because it depends, very much. I think the last one we did, but the other one is
Okay. But then I think it's better now. But you said this first one, right?
let me see. That's
Or this one? Which one?
the first one. Yes,
Okay, you like this one better.
I like this one better.
Okay, whichever one you find handy anyway. But I like to mix up, it, depending on whichever one what I'm working on determines which one I'm going
Yeah,
to go.
depending on that's what I'm saying. Like the one, if I'm to write sentence, I think this last one is. If what I'm characters I'm going to put in is much, this last one is better. But if it's
Okay.
just writing names and this is my name and things like that, the first one is okay.
All right. Great. Thank you. All right. So that's that about formatting strings. Okay. So do we have any question or questions? Okay. No question or questions. In the absence of question.
Yeah. I said I think I'm following. I don't have any for now.
Okay. Great. So what I'm going to talk about in the next thing I'm going to talk about now is string methods. So string method basically are methods that you apply on a string that changes the appearance of that string. For example, I have, I'm just going to copy this right here. And if I just say maybe first name, first name dot upper, this is going to change the first name to upper case. And if I just copy this and then change this to last name to maybe lower, this is going to change all the characters to lowercase. So we have quite a number of these methods that could be used, not just upper and lower. We have zfill, we have is decimal, we have replace, we have join, we have center, we have title, we have ends with, starts with. We have quite a number of those. So let's just check out a few of those. So let's say it's going to say last name dot replace s with, so replace s like this with a dollar sign. You can see now that s is now being replaced with a dollar sign. If I say first name dot maybe join, but if I use join, that's okay. Let's say if I say join by this, it's not going to join anything because it's just one it's just one word. But if I have like a couple of rules, maybe like a sentence, and I say join by this, then it's going to join all of it by that. So maybe if I say maybe a sentence or something, this and then I say sentence like this. Okay. So this joins each word by that, and then if I try it with, I think it was last name, let's see. So it joins each word, sorry, each letter by an asterisk. So we also have is, ends with, starts with, and how that works is let's say does this sentence starts with E something. This dot starts with And then does it start with, let's say this something. If it starts with it, it returns true. If it doesn't, it returns false. If I check for D, it's going to return false because this sentence does not start with THE. Okay, so we also have Z view, we have L strip, we have right strip, we have strip. So if I have maybe some kind of space here and under space here, so this side might not be so obvious, but let's say I have some space here. At least it's obvious with this join, and I'm trying to get rid of this space. I can use strip. So to do that, I'm just going to say sentence dot strip. So if I use strip like this is just going to get rid of all space, leaving excess spaces. It's going to get rid of all the spaces before T and all the spaces before after the last character. If I use L strip would only delete all the left spaces, leaving the one on the right. If I use R strip, it's only going to get rid of all the spaces on the right, leaving the one on the left. So if I wanted to get rid of both, I'm just going to use strip for that. So you can read more on string methods and learn more about some hands-on on how to clean or apply methods on your string character. Do we have any question or questions?
Well, I think when I read more, I understand it, but I need to try it myself. So
Okay, great. So we have, so the next thing we're going to look at is condition formatting. So condition formatting is used to write, sorry, condition statements, not formatting. Condition statements. Condition statements is used to write conditions and assign value to each condition, however true or false. For example, if I say x is equal to 7, and I say if x is less than 5, print less than 5. You see that nothing happens. So because I've only said if x is less than 5, print
yeah,
x is
since it's
less
not
than.
less.
So since x is not less than 5, it doesn't print anything. So that's just a one-way condition. So sometimes you want to have a two-way condition, whereby if the first condition is not met, you want to automatically assign the second condition, the second result. So which means if I say else, print greater greater or equal to 5. So if I run this now, it's going to print the second part because now a condition. So now the first part is not met, so automatically it has to be the second part. So what this means is that Python will only check this first condition if it is true. If it is not true, it just displays the result here. Why? Because the else block does not take in a condition. So what does this whole formatting means? I'm writing the if word if this condition is met. So to separate this condition and the statement I want Python to execute, I'm going to put a colon here. Then once I put a colon and I hit enter, Python automatically adds an indent, which is 4 spaces or 4 white spaces, which then allows you to write your result or whatever you want it to um, do for you. So in this case scenario, I want you to print this character for me. So else, I want you to print this. So you can see that this indent is automatically observed. So by default, Python will automatically take this into Cognizance. So it's going to apply this indent by itself. So if for some odd reasons this doesn't automatically be applied, we are going to get what we call the indentation error. So this indentation error is saying expected an indent block after else statement on line 6. So which means that it's expecting you to put an indent here, but it didn't get it. So if I run this now, it works perfectly. So that's just that about a condition statement with two switch. However, sometimes you want to write more than a two condition with you want to test for multiple condition, but your if, but this one does not allow you to. So what some persons might say you should do is to write multiple if statements, which works, but sometimes which usually takes more time processing. So you might want to manually check this. So what that means is that if I say if x is less than 9, or yeah, if x is, let's say, maybe greater than 20, print 20. If x is, you know, something something, so which means writing multiple if statements, which is not a very good convention because uh, this could take much more time to load. So but what you want to do is to use what we call an if else statement. So if else statement allows you to write multiple if conditions. For example, let's say we wanted to continue this part. Let's say we wanted to say if the value is less than 5, we should say less than 5. If the value, we could say L if, which means else. If x is maybe greater than 10 and it is less than 20, then print print 20, else print less than 10. Okay, so you see now that it's going to say less than 10. Why? Because this first condition and this second condition was not met. But if now if I change this to 10 and I change this to 10 and I change this and I run this again, you see it's still less than 10. If I now change this to 11, it's now 10 to 20. So we could use if, else, or elif. So you can have as many elifs as you possibly can. So you can even use this as a grade checker and check if a particular grade is something. So to do that, let's say we have a score, and this time we want to get user input. So to get user input, we say input, and then we say enter in. So this, so we now say if the score that my user enters is greater than 70 or equal to 70, it starts with A, and it is less than, and my score is less than 100, less or equal to 100, then that person should get a R. If this person, else if, or elif, sorry, then if the score is greater or equal to 60, and my score is less than 70, then we should print a B. So if I run this now, it's going to ask for something. So if I click B, so now I'm getting this error because it's the value I'm taking in is a string, but what I'm checking here is an integer. So to do this, to make this work, I'm just going to convert this to an integer, wrapping this around this. So this does type convert, which means it converts the number from string to integer. So if I run this again, now I have a B. And if I run this again and I put 79, I have a hit. If I put this 70, I have a hit also. But if I use maybe 50, nothing happens because I've not written a condition to satisfy that. So I could just give you a take home to complete this part of the exercise, and then you can reach out to me if you have any errors or whatsoever, or you can try to complete this and assign other score for C, D, E, and F. Okay, good.